In May, my 22-year-old husband betrayed my trust by cheating on me with a coworker's girlfriend while he was intoxicated. To provide context, I, a 21-year-old, and my husband had been married and living together since 2022. Initially, our relationship was steady. We both held jobs while I pursued my education. On a particular evening after my classes, he assured me of our plans to dine at our favorite hot pot spot. I contacted him to arrange leaving my car at the school and using his vehicle instead. However, his lack of response left me hanging. When I reached out, he disclosed that he was at a gathering with friends and would return home soon. Though I didn't initially mind, his subsequent message instructing me not to order food, contrary to his usual support of such choices, felt unusual. Despite this, I stayed awake, anticipating his return, and even offered to pick him up as per our agreement that if one couldn't drive home, the other would provide transportation. However, my attempts to reach him calling 5 times went unanswered, raising concerns for his well-being. At 6 a.m., the start of my workday, my concerns about him lingered, leading me to incessantly text and call him to ensure his well-being. Despite my efforts, there was no response. The worry persisted throughout my work hours. When I finally finished work, I continued to wait anxiously for any sign of life from him. Then, unexpectedly, he walked in, displaying affection and using endearing nicknames he'd never used before. Though this caught me off guard, I chose to brush it aside for the moment. Later, as he emerged from the shower, a strikingly prominent red mark on his neck caught my attention. Without a word, I packed my things and left. His attempts to contact me, flooding my phone and messenger, went unanswered as I grappled with the disbelief of his actions. The following day, I returned to retrieve my belongings. That's when he attempted to explain what had transpired, but my emotions and shock made it difficult for me to engage with his attempts at explanation. His account of the situation unfolded amidst a heavy haze of intoxication. In his recollection, in the midst of everyone being highly inebriated, he engaged in a conversation with a girl, finding a comfortable rapport with her. As the night progressed and the alcohol flowed freely, they were requested to fetch more drinks. It was during this time, in an intimate moment away from the group, that he began lamenting about me, airing grievances regarding my change in attire and expressing derogatory sentiments. Their exchange took a distressing turn when they moved to the privacy of the back of his car, culminating in an act of infidelity. To compound the betrayal, the woman involved took photographs using his phone, immortalizing their transgression. The complexity deepens as he took a significant step that night, asking her to become his girlfriend, a role I typically assumed in our relationship. Following his apology to me, he continued communicating with her, even spending time together despite the situation. A gesture of goodwill, a lunch I prepared for him, revealed exchanged messages between them, messages filled with affectionate tones and gestures typically shared by a couple. The challenge I face now is trusting his assurances of fidelity despite my skepticism. My fear persists, driving me to keep tabs on her social media, haunted by the dread of stumbling upon messages or images of him with her. This predicament leaves me uncertain about the appropriate course of action. What steps should I take to navigate this situation, considering the lingering doubts about his commitment and fidelity? Next story. At the age of 29, I discovered that my 29-year-old husband has a hidden collection of sexual images involving my sister. Allow me to share a bit of our history. My husband and I are high school sweethearts, seemingly cut from the same cloth. Until recently, conflicts between us were rare, and disagreements, if any, were sporadic. Our journey spans over 12 years, graced by the presence of our 2 adorable boys, aged 1 and 2, painting a picturesque, white picket fence life. Contrasting our harmony is my sister, a 25-year-old woman who stands as my polar opposite. I'm a tall, brunette figure, still carrying the weight from consecutive pregnancies. Conversely, my sister embodies petite stature with her striking blonde hair. I've pursued education, toiled in my career, and taken on the role of a diligent provider, often placing the needs of my family and loved ones above my own, a task I've embraced without reservation. In contrast, my sister's priorities, in her own words, revolve around maintaining a captivating appearance, expressing little interest in much beyond that. While I've dedicated myself to the responsibilities of life, she's opted for a different path, completing high school with minimal commitment and holding a scarcely demanding part-time job. The differences between us could not be starker. My husband is an exceptional partner, tirelessly dedicated to providing for our family. His commitment extends beyond just financial support, He actively engages in childcare and shares the responsibilities of maintaining our household with the same fervor as I do. I held an unwavering respect and trust in him, considering him a pillar of reliability in our lives. However, recently, I had a gut feeling, a form of women's intuition, that something was amiss. Observing a change in his behavior, I decided to delve into some of his Discord messages exchanged within his friend group. It was an impulse, a feeling nudging me to investigate. I didn't know what I anticipated finding, but what I stumbled upon was far from my expectations. There lay a thread of messages where he was boastfully praising the physical attractiveness of my sister. This unexpected discovery was jarring and deeply unsettling. I stumbled upon pictures he had sent of her and messages describing her as the epitome of 10-10 in terms of physical appeal and sexual experiences. This revelation shattered my world. The foremost questions besieging my mind were, when did this happen and how could it have occurred? Their interactions had always been respectful and appropriate, showing no hint of anything untoward. That night, as soon as he returned home, I confronted him. The expression of utter shame etched across his face is vivid in my memory. He began a lengthy confession, acknowledging that while he found my sister attractive, he had never engaged in a physical relationship with her. As I probed further, he honestly admitted that he used to maintain a clandestine folder containing pictures of my sister. However, he claimed to have deleted it long ago, affirming that it no longer existed. He even demonstrated how he would conceal these images because, in our relationship, I've always had unrestricted access to his phone. Inquisitively, I remembered his old phone nestled in a dresser drawer, dating back several years. Alone that night, I decided to charge it, a decision I now regret. What I discovered was a cache of dozens of photos of my sister gathered from her Facebook, Instagram, and candid snapshots meticulously stored in his concealed spank bank. This had been ongoing for years, all unbeknownst to me. An overwhelming sense of heartbreak engulfed me completely. Several nights later, I summoned the courage to tell my husband that I desired a divorce. I couldn't bring myself to compete with my sister for his affection. How could I ever face my sister again without feeling inadequate, knowing this intimate violation existed? This wasn't just some passing fling. It was someone we encountered at every family gathering, celebration, and holiday. However, my husband was obstinate. While he acknowledged his wrongdoing, he couldn't fathom the extent of devastation it caused me. He vowed to do everything in his power to aid my healing, a promise he has kept, I must admit, in his defense. It's been a year since the discovery, and throughout this time, he's dedicated himself to consistently reassuring me, supporting me through triggers, and patiently weathering my mood swings. He actively avoids interactions with my sister, and when circumstances demand our presence together, he goes out of his way to ensure my comfort. This has been a deeply private matter for us, and I've chosen not to discuss it with anyone, deeming it our personal challenge and not something for public scrutiny. However, a persistent feeling recently surfaced, hinting that my sister might be aware of my husband's sentiments. Innocent remarks she made previously now seemed tinged with suspicion. I decided to address this with him, questioning whether there was anything she knew that I didn't. Once again, I witnessed the familiar look of shame on his face. He confessed to something more, admitting that in past years, there were instances where he had inappropriately touched my sister by grabbing her buttocks when opportunities arose. This had occurred numerous times over the years, forming a flirtatious dynamic between them. It shattered me once more, unveiling a physical aspect to their relationship that had been concealed from me. He vehemently assures me that their interactions never progressed beyond what he disclosed. According to his explanation, he sensed my sister deliberately trying to gain his attention, especially during periods when she faced relationship issues. Essentially, she engaged in flirtatious behavior whenever I wasn't around or wasn't paying attention, leading to his inappropriate actions and the creation of his secretive collection. Looking back, I can now recall instances that might have hinted at this, instances I dismissed at the time. So, yes, I'm inclined to believe there was participation on her part, as he claims. When I questioned why he hadn't revealed this earlier, he confessed that he had ceased these actions years ago, reluctant to cause any friction or drama between me and my sister by divulging it. I'm striving so hard to find equilibrium, but this revelation has dealt a severe blow to my healing process. I feel shattered once more, angry at both of them and grappling with a sense of foolishness. A part of me demands retribution, urging me to leave my husband, to inflict the same pain he's caused me. Yet, another part acknowledges his efforts as a devoted husband and father, recognizing him as a flawed individual striving to rectify his mistake. I'm torn between viewing him as a deceitful, untrustworthy individual and acknowledging his humanity, his willingness to mend the wrong. I'm seeking guidance on how to navigate this situation and determine the best course of action for my future. Any advice or perspective on this complex dilemma would be greatly appreciated. Let's get 1,000 subscribers before the new year on this channel. Love you.